Well, happy Wednesday, everybody. We're so glad to have you here. We're going to be talking about a very important topic this Wednesday, men's health and wellness. Community Health Foundation is very pleased to be able to host these health-related sessions. About once a quarter, we delve into a different topic. And I think this is one that we've been wanting and hoping to be able to present for quite a long time. I want to be sure to recognize our wonderful moderator, Nettie Carter-Smith, who's been with us since the beginning of this series of health conversations. Nettie is the Director of Community Relations at Rocking Horse Community Health Center. So thanks for being here again, Nettie. And technical assistance is provided by Shiftology. So behind the scenes, we have Alex Miller, who will be taking care of making sure that this Break for Health session runs very smoothly. I'd like to take a minute to just explain to you the way this Zoom webinar works. On your toolbar, you will see that attendees, the audience that is not able to participate through the chat function, but you can use the Q&A box. Please enter any questions that you might have in the Q&A box, and we will be sure to try to get those to the appropriate panelists and get answers for you. You'll also notice on the bottom, on the bottom of your screen, there's a button that says Live Transcript. That is the system that will interpret what's being said here the best that it can. But if you'd rather not see those subtitles, you can click on Live Transcript and then choose Hide Subtitle. So I think we are ready for Nettie to kick us off, and we'll go ahead and pull up the first set of poll questions. And we're hoping that those of you in attendance, including the hosts, will participate and give us your answers.
Great. Thanks, Joan. Hi, everyone. It is hump day. It is Wednesday. It is hump day. Welcome to everyone that has chosen to join us for such a great topic. As Joan mentioned, this is the topic on men's health. This month is Men's Health Month, and Sunday is Father's Day. So happy Father's Day in advance to all of the awesome fathers around. But what we want to do, again, we want to take an opportunity to answer these poll questions, and then we will introduce our panelists, our experts on this particular topic. And they're actually going to take an opportunity to answer question 3. Okay? Take a couple more minutes, and then let's see what the results are. And just a reminder, we want this to be interactive. So everyone that is listening in, please put your questions in the chat box so that we can include them and we can get the experts to answer your questions. Okay, do we have the results? Here we go. Where are men most likely to seek medical information? Wow, the internet. Okay. I know we have some doctors here, so maybe we can see what they think. Question 2, you're or significant male in your life experienced any of the following? 50% cancer and diabetes. Interesting. And then the last question, what reason do men give for not seeing a doctor? Okay, so we've got those answers there, but let's go around and introduce the panelists and hear what their jobs, and then let's see what their answers are. First up is Gina Burke. Gina?
Hello, everyone. My name's Gina Burke. I'm the program manager for Big Brothers Big Sisters of Clark and Madison counties. Okay, so you want me to answer poll question number 3?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
So this one's kind of tricky. I'm not sure. So I'm just going to say maybe fear of a troubling diagnosis.
Okay. Well, good. Jackie.
Hi there, I'm Jackie Dahlberg, and I am a dietitian here with Mercy Health Springfield Weight Management. So question number 3. So what reasons do they give for not seeing a doctor? I think I kind of went with don't want to change their lifestyle, but I also think that in combination with they don't see the need to change their lifestyle. Maybe they don't think they're unhealthy just as they are. So they don't seem to sense as much of a problem sometimes. I see that, and even got that response from a man in my life when asked about that
Names,
question.
no
I'm like,
names.
okay, yeah.
Okay, great, thanks. I'd like to introduce Ron Gordon. Ron?
Thank you, Nettie. I'm Ronald Gordon. I'm Dean of Enrollment Services at Clark State, and also a mentor with the Big Brothers program. I actually answered all 4 as being the reasons. That embarrassment piece, the not wanting to change a lifestyle. This is the way I've always been my entire life there. But I think if you want to pick just one, I think it's that fear of the troubling diagnosis. I mean, you may have some issues that you're coming across there and you just don't want to really find out because of maybe family history, et cetera there. So that would be my choice.
Okay, great. Well, welcome. Jake? Looks like you're unmuted. Is your volume up? I thought we heard you earlier. Yeah. Mm-mm. No. We'll come back. We'll come back. Okay. Stephen.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Stephen Massey. I am the founder of Awakenings in Clark County. It's a social justice engine that's committed to empowerment and inclusion in community. We create access points for youth and families. We do research, and we're just all over the place. And I'm also the director of the Crime Recovery Center at City Lookout, where we serve crime survivors all around the state for the state of Ohio, Attorney General Dave Yost, local law enforcement, and all partners across the city. We do counseling, domestic violence work, and a lot of other things. And I would say, wow, I'm kind of like Ron. I answered all of them. I felt like all of them fit, but if I had to pick one, reasons why men do not seek a doctor, I would say do not want to change lifestyle.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Dr. Risby.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'd say the most probable common cause would be embarrassment and not wanting to change things. That's the reason people seek care on internet and try and keep it private.
Mhm. Okay, great. Well, welcome. Dr. Thompson.
Hi, I'm Dr. Ian Thompson. I'm an orthopedic surgeon here in town. I moved here in 2005. And I guess I think a lot of this has to do with your age. You know, I think don't want to change your lifestyle might be someone younger who thinks they're healthy and don't want to be told they have, you know, diabetes and change their diet. And then I think as they get a little bit older, maybe fear of a troubling diagnosis where maybe they fear cancer and it's on their mind. And that's part of the denial people have when trying to seek medical care.
Okay. Great. Can't hear you, Jake. Jake is our chiropractor for Rocking Horse Community Health Center, and he does an awesome job, but we're going to work with him because I know he's got something to say. We're going to keep working. Okay, so Dr. Thompson, that actually is a good lead-in question. You had indicated that some men do not want to maybe go to the doctor because of age or things like that. When are the appropriate ages for men to get screenings? When should they start, and what types of screenings should they have?
Well, I think a lot of that has to do with family history. You know, if there's a family history of a cardiac disease or cancer or any other, you know, serious medical problems, you know, high blood pressure, diabetes, all that stuff. you know, I think, you know, you start as early as you can, you know. I think, you know, it's obviously good to get a baseline in the 20s. And then, you know, from there on out, depending on what you have, you get appropriate follow-up directed by your primary care doctor.
Mhm. Okay. Dr. Risby, you want to comment on that? Add anything? You're muted.
I think that's a very valid point. I'd also say, in addition to age, probably men's response is different in seeking help depending on what age group they are. I think that's a very valid point. And sometimes fear factor comes in a lot.
Mhm. And, you know, that's interesting because, you know, most men are, look who's joining me.
Hi, everybody. You can hear me now, right? Okay, good.
Yeah. So, you know, we talk about men and, you know, being the strong type and, you know, not wanting to, you know, show emotion. Are men more emotional than women? Just a question.
Well, I know that I did cry for the second time in my life 2 weeks ago because I had my baby boy.
Nice.
So yeah, it's a weird feeling. Just like, what's going on? Why am I crying? So it's definitely okay to cry sometimes. So, but I am Jake Thomas. I'm the chiropractor here at Rocking Horse. I'm also an athletic trainer, so I have some sports medicine background. So some of my answers will be from that because I do practice a lot of athletic training here at Rocking Horse as well as chiropractic. So yeah.
So we talk about men being hesitant to go to the doctor. As a family member, as a wife, as a daughter, sister, what are some ways that family members can encourage men to visit the doctor regularly?
Well, I'll give an example. When my wife had our fourth child, she took it upon herself to make a doctor's appointment for me. And, you know, she urged me to go, but what I didn't know, it was with the urologist. So to have no more kids. So, but I think that helps having an advocate in your family that may take the initiative to make the appointment for you. If you're not willing to do it, they don't have that fear of calling and that maybe that embarrassing, don't want to see a doctor because you're invincible.
Right.
So I'd like to take a stab at that too, real quick, Eddie. So I think a lot of it has to deal with culture and upbringing and what we've been taught. And I know I come from family environment when I was younger. We didn't talk a lot about medicine, health, and things like that. We just had good old immunities to a lot of things. And then coming up, as that conversation developed, it was foreign to me. But one of the things we've done in our household is we've been intentional about having discussion when we come into the house about if one has had an appointment, the status on the appointment, what is next. And we kind of look at a way to celebrate that when we get good information. We've checked off a list of doing something. So it's all new. It's a new experience for me, but I've bought in and it seems to be working. And so I share it with my peers now.
That's good. That's good. Ladies, you want to comment? Have you been in a situation where you've had to maybe encourage a family member, a male family member, to go?
Yeah, I would say, you know, even just in my family, it's like, you know, the mom role for making appointments for our kids, and even my mom, you know, making appointments when we were little for us. And you just had to kind of take that on, you know, with our spouses too. It's like, I'm going to make an appointment for the kids. I'm going to make one for you too. So that, you know, I feel like they just kind of put their health sometimes on the back burner and need reminded that, no, you need to make those routine appointments and you're just as important, you know, as an adult as you were as a child to keep healthy. So, you know, just kind of keep in that zone. Yeah.
And I'll just contribute to say that in my household, I'm reminded to remind my husband when I've gone for a screening or an annual checkup and say, okay, now you need to make an appointment too. It took a while. I started out with just getting to the dentist on a regular basis. And then we just keep that expectation going that and I don't know why it is that women are so much more consistent about seeing their doctors. Some of you might have thoughts about that, but that's kind of my trigger for reminding him.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah, just to piggyback on that, I think just to have like regular conversations in your house about the appointments that you go to and your health, and just to make a point to have a conversation about it, to bring it to the forefront of your mind. I know, unfortunately, sometimes we tend to be reactive. And so if someone we know becomes ill or has a medical emergency, or then all of a sudden we might react to that and start making appointments. So just to make it part of like regular conversation in the house to maintain health.
Mhm.
Do you mind if I ask a question real quick, Nettie? I
Sure.
don't know if some of you, maybe Ron or Stephen, have some suggestions about what are good ways to encourage a man in your life to seek medical help without nagging or shaming or coming off as like the domineering person.
Right. The mother.
I think
Yeah, or
from,
the mother.
someone mentioned the emotion piece earlier, and I think, one of the driving factors for me to do the regular checkups is just being there for my family, and knowing that, you may be, knowing family history, knowing that, the future is not certain for anyone, but the opportunity to make sure that you're staying healthy or learning those early diagnoses to get treatment as soon as possible. But it's just knowing that I can be there for my family long term if anything like that is found earlier, or you find out that everything's all good, and then you keep the regular appointments. I know I have my annual physical with my family practitioner, and I think it was Dr. Ian mentioned, a neurologist, and getting that done when you get to a certain age. It's not, and I think it goes back to the one question about the reason for not seeing a doctor and the embarrassment of some of the procedures that a male has to go through at a certain age. I think that comes into play, but it's knowing that, you are healthy or you found those out. But it's, again, I think it's playing on that emotion of, hey, we need you here long term for our family. And, that's why we have to go through these processes, especially when you get to be my age.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had an experience where the first time I got an MRI, I was traumatized. I was claustrophobic, and they have even the open ones, just the whole process. And I remember them backing me in and out of it, and me saying I can't do it. And then eventually it just dawned on me. I said, I've got to do this for my family, and that was like a light went off. And I thought, a lot of this is a selfless act that I'll be taking care of myself, as Ron said, to help others and be a part of a family system and community, because they want me around, they want me healthy. I like that. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Mhm. You want to add anything?
Yeah. So my dad, I have a brother, so there's no, he doesn't have a daughter to kind of, nag him to go to the doctor, but he passed out about a year ago and he never sees the doctor ever. And he was standing in line for an event and he passed out, and he went to his cardiologist, and the cardiologist ran some tests, and his heart would stop at 20 to 30 seconds at night while he was sleeping. He had no idea because he never saw a doctor, and he never had a checkup. And thank the Lord that happened, because he would have never found that out, and maybe one day we would tried to wake him up and he wouldn't have woke up. So now they have put him on a sleep apnea machine. He's looking to get a pacemaker put in. So all the measures have been taken, but if he didn't pass out, or if he would have went to the doctor sooner,
Right.
everything happens. So
Wow, that is a blessing.
Yeah.
And so when you think about that, obviously that's a predictor of cardiac problems for men. Dr. Rizvi, are there other stronger predictions that we need to know about?
So one of the things which I'd like to take an opportunity to mention here is something as simple as checking your blood pressure or having your blood pressure checked. Even going out to Walmart, or a lot of pharmacies have blood pressure, and just documenting it. And they don't even necessarily need to go into a doctor's office, and keeping a tab on that. Often our blood pressures are higher when we visit physicians. and that is called the white coat syndrome or white coat blood pressure. But a very convenient way of doing it, and it's may not be even a bad investment, is to buy a $40, $50 worth of blood pressure monitoring machine. And if you don't want to invest that much, and just check your blood pressure by yourself at a pharmacy. Blood pressure is called a silent killer, and that can be a bane of a lot of problems, because eventually high blood pressure causes strokes, and hypertension leads to coronary artery disease and expedites that process, and also increases your risk of heart attacks and congestive heart failure. So that's a very simple thing that men can do, even if they feel embarrassed, and if they consistently note that their blood pressure is more than 140 top number, then they can seek help. And just a single pill can solve that problem without changing much in their lifestyle. The second thing is, of course, your genetics. Being aware that if your own parents or your brothers and your siblings have had heart issues in their 50s or 40s, or have had strokes at young ages, then those are all good triggers to kind of remind ourselves that, all right, my family genes work against me, so what I can do to circumvent that. We can't change genes, we can't change our parents, but we can change the environment and modulate things like our blood pressure, our cholesterol number, and that does change outcomes. So just to put it in a nutshell, just check your blood pressure, and if possible, get your cholesterol checked, and you don't necessarily need to even see a doctor for any of that. And you can seek more help if any of those things are not right.
Thank you. So we know two things can impact that. Obviously, what we put in our bodies, what we eat, and then how active we are. So what are some or the best forms of exercise for men? Because I know that some men think, and I don't know, we can talk about this, Jackie, you may want to speak to this as well. I know a lot of young guys will eat anything, right? Because they're so active. But I don't know if over time that impacts them and their body, if it takes a toll on them, because they're 20 and it's okay to eat 3 steaks, or go to McDonald's and have 5 double Whoppers, or what have you. So I guess there's 2 questions. What are the best exercises, and what really should we be eating? So let's start with the eating first, because you're ready.
Right. Yeah. So, and it is, and they go together for sure. I mean, I see a lot of kind of middle-aged men coming in where through their 20s and even in their 30s, they could eat whatever they wanted. And even if they were just moderately active, they maintained a healthy weight. But now as they get older, and it's true with men and women, that as you get older, your metabolism, how many calories our body's burning, we, are burning less and less as we get older, because typically we're losing muscle mass. So it's not as forgiving. As you get older, you have to pay more attention.
Right.
And for men, I see them seeking, weight management later in life, because they do have more muscle mass. So their metabolism tends to stay higher longer into their adult life. Men tend to get enough protein, which is something that women tend not to, but men also tend to eat more salt and eat more saturated fat. So their diet tends to be just unhealthier. And I think, part of that is because, they haven't had to pay attention as early on in life. So those bad habits, it's like bad habits are hard to break, they die hard. So, we do see a lot of poor eating habits that are, following them later and later into life. Which makes it difficult. So men, especially, like Dr. Rizvi mentioned about blood pressure, men really need to pay attention to salt for sure. That's something that, again, they tend to eat more than women. In general, we all, as Americans, tend to eat more salt than we should. So that's definitely something to reduce. And then saturated fat is that fat that comes from anything that comes from an animal. So basically, you don't have to avoid animal products necessarily, but just watching the fat content of those. So not fatty, greasy meats, not fried foods, that kind of stuff. So keeping those protein sources more lean. And of course, all of us, nobody eats enough fruits and vegetables, right? So, increasing, especially those vegetables, is always helpful, for cholesterol, keeping those calories down as we get older, for sure. Yeah.
Right. I love broccoli, for the record.
Good.
I'm not going to eat peas, but yeah. So, Dr. Thompson and Jake, let me ask, so what are some of the common injuries that you see in men, in your role?
Yeah, so I kind of break it down to ages, like just to split up most guys, go from 18 to 40 and then 40 and on. Usually 18 to 30, or at 40, guys are a little more active. They're starting to lift weights a lot. That's the biggest injury I usually see is improper weightlifting that usually results in a herniated disc. So you got to be careful with weightlifting, especially lower 20s, mid 20s. A lot of guys are trying to be like their friends or the videos, and they're trying to lift all this weight with poor technique, and they're lifting the wrong muscles, and bad things can happen. And when I say lifting the wrong muscles, I'm talking about chest, buys, all the stuff that guys want to lift. It really does not a ton for your function. The best to do is core, glutes, and back. Those three are super important, and I don't see enough guys doing that. I just see the pecs and the biceps, and then the deadlifts when they're pulling up and they're extending really back far.
Right.
I mean, you're at that age, you're just so high at risk for a disc herniating. And then when a disc herniates, it pinches a nerve.
Right.
So that's super common in that age. Older, I'm seeing a lot more, 40 to 80, somewhere around there. I'm seeing a lot more on the job injuries. People who are doing repetitive work, not doing enough stretching, contractors, factory workers, they're working out all these muscles, bending over, picking stuff up, the same motion in a factory all day long.
Mm-hmm.
These muscles are getting overworked and they're getting understretched. We're just not stretching the muscles enough. So, some of my patients, I'll say, you need to stretch more. And then they'll say, well, I stretch all the time. I work so-and-so. And I'm like, well, show me. And, they'll show us motions. And I'm just like, well, that's actually, you're working the muscle. Your muscles are contracting all day long. They need to stretch. When muscles contract, they get bigger, they get tighter, they pinch on nerves. Stretching is much more important for these guys than actually working out. But that's the most I see for sure. And, I would say just stretch more, just YouTube it. If it takes 2 minutes, 5 minutes, just YouTube, hey, how to stretch hamstrings, how to stretch your glutes, how to work on your core. YouTube's a great resource. I use YouTube quite often for, just little workouts, little movements. There's just so much access on YouTube. Just take advantage of it. Even if it's 5 minutes a day, just a 5-minute stretch at home, it's really going to help your body a lot in the long run.
That's helpful.
Hey, Nettie, if I could just ask just a quick question. Jacob, where were you at 35 years ago when I was doing all that crazy stuff? I could have used that information. Now I got the herniated disc in my neck. My low back's always sore. I mean, where were you at when I was doing all that stuff?
Yeah, that's true. And I'm not even a male, so I played a lot of basketball, right? And I played with a lot of guys. So you go to a court and it's like, okay, well, I'm going to choose Nettie. You'll say, well, give me 1 second. Let me stretch out. Well, I don't have time to do that, right? I just want to get on the court and go a little bit. So yeah, that's a good point. Dr. Thompson, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I'd like to start off by saying you mentioned 40 is old, Jake. Panel,
that came across wrong. I'm getting up there, so.
Oh.
And I'm losing my hair, so it's all coming straight on for. So I get it. Not old at all.
What does that make us?
Talk to me in a couple of years. I will be there. I promise.
Well, I look at common sports injuries. It is a little bit kind of age related. If you're looking at the kind of out of college and the workplace sports, where people are, playing sports on the weekends that are, not like on a team where they're practicing and they're conditioned and they're in shape. We see a lot of injuries, just simple injuries like ankle sprains, knee sprains, hamstrings, a big one. So there's like surgical and non-surgical injuries. We have a term called weekend warrior where, a guy goes out, plays for the first time in a long time, playing basketball, and then you end up tearing an Achilles tendon. an ACL injury, your distal biceps injury, or if you're lifting something. So they come in a variety of things, and some are more just minor, and some are a little bit more major and kind of disrupting, your lifestyle, workforce, ability to care for the family, that kind of stuff. So they come in all flavors, but you break it down between a surgical or non-surgical kind of injury.
Stephen, you've been a person that has been, pretty serious and pretty intentional about working out,
Yeah.
keeping, your body fit. Is there anything
Yeah.
like that?
Yeah, I'd like to weigh in real quick. I like everything I've heard so far. It's always good to get a perspective from nutritionists and doctors and people who support what we need to do. And so I've been lifting for over 30 years. I come from a basketball background and transitioned into weightlifting and got serious. Luckily for me, I had good mentors. I had people who showed me technique. And that's kind of what I try to pass on to younger lifters and people. Everybody wants to like bench 300 and 400 squat. And so even for me, it's the long game now. And I'm grateful that I haven't sustained major injuries as a result of doing things wrong. But it's just not practical for me to put 405 on my back anymore. There's no reason to do it. I'm more at risk of doing something that would be detrimental to being healthy or something permanent. And they're not giving me a check. There's no motive for it. So I've listened to doctors, even cardiologists. I went for a preventative health screening that was, I was talking to another doctor and I said, sometimes I think in medicine, they want to wait till something happens before. And I said, I've never had my heart exam. And so she said, go to the heart house, see if they'll take you. And I called them and they got me in and did the stress test. And I really talked to this doctor. He was really great at like connecting with information. And he told me, and I shared with him how I lifted. And he said, you're at the age now where you want to protect your heart. He said, you don't want to go for lifts that cause you to have to hold your breath and explode. He said, do more things that are consistent with breathing, light and soft, more bands, leave all that heavy stuff alone. And even for me, it makes more sense to carry less weight, right, for my joints. And also, and Dr. Thompson would probably agree with that. I've listened to him and lean into that. But also for heart health and all sorts of other things. There's just so many things that you can risk by trying to be. So even for me, someone as a man who's prideful, I've had to look at being humble and vulnerable in the gym now. I don't look at the guys who are in their 20s doing all that crazy stuff. And I don't have to compare myself to them. I don't have to be drawn in because sometimes they'll say, put some weight on there. I'm thinking, yeah, you wait till you get my age and hopefully you'll be in the state I'm in if you're blessed. So being able to just have a perspective on it and understand that leaning into medicine and the professionals like the ones here on the call today will help us make that journey in the right direction as we explore health and
Right.
being okay with talking about it.
Right.
Have nothing to prove at this point.
Yeah. See, Jake, that's what you have to look forward to as you get older. We call that wisdom.
Wisdom.
Wisdom. And with that, let's slide into our second round of poll questions. Let's take a look. Who is a male who has been influential in your life? You can select any and all. We kind of talked about this, but I'd like to dig a little deeper into this second question. I'm going to answer these for you.
Mhm.
No,
Okay. Yeah, we're good.
Jake and I are doing these together. Okay, take one more second. What do you say about these? You can multiple choice.
Child and funeral.
Okay. All right. Let's see the results. Wow. Who is a male who has been influential in your life? 92% say father. And when is it okay for a man to cry? Okay. Well, we knew Jake's answer, right? 69%.
Oh,
Looks
I
like.
didn't, I didn't even see the daughter gets married. I have a daughter too, so yeah, I will be crying on that one for sure.
Okay. Well, actually, I really want to focus on question number one, because, you know, we talk about males, and I think it's great that 92% of the males have been influenced by their father. We sadly have a lot of mothers that are single parents that don't have fathers in their life. And so we're fortunate to have a program, Big Brothers, Big Sisters. And obviously we have a big brother here that can just kind of talk a little bit about that and their role and how he stands in the gap for this young man. Gina, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Nettie. And I want to give a shout out to Nettie as well. She's a big sister with Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and mentors in our Lincoln program. So thanks for all you do, Nettie, as well. So I think most of you already know that positive adult relationships are just an absolutely essential element for youth development, like for physical and mental health youth development. And so a lot of us, we had those naturally occurring relationships in our lives growing up, and we might not have called them mentors necessarily. They may have been a teacher or a coach, or as we got older, like a supervisor at work. But those were in essence like mentors to us. So a lot of our kids don't have that naturally occurring relationship in their life with an adult outside of their family. So Big Brothers, Big Sisters is a way to connect a youth with an adult in the community to step in and act in that mentorship type role. So I am, thank you, Ron, for coming to talk about your experience as a big brother in the program. And so Ron's little guy, his mom, I actually applaud her. She reached out to me on her own, and she recognized that her son could benefit from having an adult role model in his life. She's raising him, and he has sisters. So he's surrounded by females at home, and she recognized the need to have a male influence for him. So Ron, if you want to talk a little bit about your experience.
Sure. Thank you, Gina. Thank you, Nettie. Yeah, when Gina came to me, we have a mutual friend who, when Gina was talking about this young guy and was saying that, you know, I'm looking for someone. So she recommended Gina reach out to me. And as Gina mentioned, you know, he's surrounded by ladies. So that was the first thing that kind of hit me right away. I was, as Nettie was talking about, you know, being brought up by a single parent. My mom was raising myself as the oldest of 3 kids. I've got twin sisters. So it was me and the 3 of them. I come home and everybody's wearing my shirts and everything else. Well, that wasn't going to happen in the reverse. So, you know, it was just being adaptable, if you will, to being around young ladies and women my entire life. And, you know, I was raised by, as they call it, by a village. My grandmother, my great grandparents, aunts, uncles, the whole group there. But, you know, once Gina came to me and talked about it, the more she talked about where the young guy was from, as far as where he lives at, very close to where I grew up or started my early days there over on Delta Road. He's just right over here off of John Street there. And, you know, the more we got to talking, I was hearing myself in him. And I said, well, this is an opportunity for me to be able to give back experiences that I wish I had at the time. Being able to take a little guy out and show him the things that I'm now able to do in my current position and current role in my life. And then also learn from him. I hadn't been fishing in years. So he and I went out to the reservoir, and he's got his poles and all the things that come along with it there. So we got to spend some time doing that. But it's really inspiring when I'm dropping him off at the house and he's asking me, when's the next time we're getting together? You know, so that kind of, it tells me at least he's at least enjoying the time we're together versus, you know, I'm good, I don't need to see you for a while. But his mom has been very supportive, as Gina said before, of, we're going to go to a baseball game this past week. They were actually on Monday, got rained out. He loves baseball, loves sports, and we had that to connect on. But it's just been really a great experience, at least from my standpoint, of being able to see a young man that I see myself in, and not only in a situational, but also in a physical way. Kind of reminds me of when I was a little guy, little chubby cheeks and all the big hair. Yes, I had big hair at the time. So when I was about 11 years old or so, but he, DJ is a great kid. And I think he's got some great things, potential from him. And I'm just glad that I can, put some information and put him in places where he can aspire to and see that there's an opportunity that you may be in the surroundings today and what you're living with and dealing with, but there's a future, a bright future ahead of you. And like I said, I didn't see that at that time. I was just making my way through life and got through high school the best way I can. And when Gina came to me, I just finished up my doctorate, had some more time on my hands now that it was all completed. And so I was excited about being able to be part of the Big Brother, Big Sister program. And I would recommend, if anyone is interested in getting involved with the program there, please do so, because they do a wonderful job of not only supporting the littles, as they call them, but also supporting the bigs too. Gina has been a very supportive in me and what we're trying to do there. So thank you very much. I appreciate the time. And again, for letting me talk about DJ and RJ. That's my nickname. So we had that other connection, that
That's
DJ
nice.
RJ piece there too. So it's really exciting.
Nice.
Thank you.
It's really nice. I want to ask you, but I also want to ask all the men, if you have sons, when you and DJ are together, are there one or two things that you are specific with or you're intentional with that you try to leave him with to plant that seed so that it continues with him?
I think the one thing, Nettie, that I want to make sure that I want him to be able to experience stuff that he would never get an opportunity to do. And I'm not talking big stuff, not traveling across the country or something like that. But, his mom is, as Gina mentioned, she has the young ladies there at the house. So she's kind of limited on what she can do as far as resources, etc. So I let him pick. I mean, generally what he'll say is, "Oh, I don't care. What do you want to do?" But, during our introduction of one another, which I think is another amazing piece that Gina does and the Big Brothers does, is, you get to know them through their likes and dislikes on paper. And then you kind of translate that over. One of our running jokes that DJ and I have is I ask him, when's your birthday? And he looks at me with this crazy look now, because we've talked about this 1,000 times, like July 27th, and I tease him like, my birthday's in November. You do not forget my birthday, DJ. That's the most important date in your life. And he laughs about that. But it's just, I think it's just making sure the piece that I think that was really hit me is that I'm not replacing his father. I'm not a father figure. I'm coming in as a friend and mentor, and also to be there if he needs a soundboard. And I think, one of the most inspiring pieces, and I sent Gina the picture, one day he just wanted to go out and look at lures to go fishing. And I said, okay. So we went out to Walmart, and I'm telling you that he was focused. He's looking at,
Wow.
I couldn't tell you any of these things he's looking at, but he was focused, and he's showing them to me. And I took a picture of it and showed it to Gina, of him squatting down and just really looking through those pieces. And I think that's just something that, I want to support him and what he likes also. It's not all about me and where I can take him, where I can show him a good time, but where he can also be himself. So that's one of the pieces I really love about being in the program.
That's great.
And I would say, when you're surrounded by sisters at home, I doubt he probably doesn't get the opportunity to go to a store often, one-on-one with someone, and just take the time to be able to look at something that interests him. And like that alone is a big deal for him. And Ron is so wonderful. I can't say enough great things, and just how thankful we are to have him. Last week we messaged that we were kind of having a hard time connecting with the mom, and it was really important that I picked up his camp application. We have a 5-night summer camp that I really want him to get into and be able to attend. And right after we messaged, Ron happened to be driving and sees him walking down the street. And so he picks him up, takes him home, and he got the camp applications for me.
Nice.
So I was able to go pick him up from Ron, and he's just a wonderful asset and part of DJ's life.
Thank you.
That's great.
Yeah.
So obviously that impacts you emotionally and that makes you feel good, takes care of your mental health, right? And obviously it kind of supports his as well. So how do men, what would you suggest men do as that outlet to take care of themselves, to make sure that they're okay mentally and emotionally? And I'm going to open that up to the fellas.
Well, I can answer a couple things that we've been doing lately here. So, there's been some trending work around men and having conversations and we just had one last Saturday where I just got about 8 guys together and we came up here to City Lookout in the conference room. And I said, "Oh, bring your sandwich or something to drink." And we all just sit there and we just processed and talked. And it was amazing. And I said, "We're going to do more of this." And everybody, now they're calling me saying, "Hey, when are we doing that again?" And I think what we were all able to do is just share a lot of what we're experiencing and going through, and even bounce ideas off each other, but also be transparent and vulnerable and talk about things that we were challenged with and things that we were going through.
I think one other thing is just, you have to find what if it can relax you, whatever can make you relax and get away from the daily pieces there. I mean, all of us, men and women and alike, we have our stresses during the day, jobs and other responsibilities. But being able to get away, whether it's by yourself or with friends, just to take a mental break there. I am not very good at it, but I love golf. I'm out there with friends, out there by myself sometimes, just to kind of separate myself. Right now, I'm struggling with some injuries that Jacob mentioned earlier from my past years of trying to be superhero, carrying stuff on my back and my neck and all that other stuff there, and it's coming back to get me. But it's and I've noticed, I'll share that with you. I've noticed my mental health is kind of taking a beating on it right now, just because I can't do a lot of the things that was able to just get away from the daily grind. And it's wearing on me a little bit there, but I know with the treatment that I'm going through and all this other stuff, it's coming back slowly. So and that's one thing about me. I'm not and most men, we're not the most patient group out there. So I wanted to do it yesterday, but it's getting better. But to me, it's just definitely finding what makes you happy and what you can separate from the daily grind of just general life piece.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
Let's address the elephant in the room real quick. All of us who do this work, it's heavy, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've had COVID. We're in a time now where we're seeing gun violence and violence escalated. And then just a lot of the work that we all do as providers, professionals, we've been entrusted to do. We carry a lot of stressors, a lot of trauma associated with community, hypersensitivity. We work, we go. And I just want to take a minute to be vulnerable and say, I can't wait to get home to my rescue dog, Millie, and baby talk her and pet her and give her time and space. And that's one of my go-tos. Putting my hand in the soil, working with plants, and that's not everybody's thing. I think what Ron is saying is that you can find out what works for you, but we have to find a way to unplug and detach and kind of find a way to rejuvenate ourselves through some of the things that we love to do. I love animals. I love music. I love nature, taking a walk. So we got to be intentional about making time to do those things. They're important. We've got to find a way to rest and recharge.
Right.
Can I jump in, Nettie? I'm wondering if we could also hear from the medical professionals about the links between stress and physical health, mm-hmm. and how that, can aggravate a person's condition possibly.
Dr. T, Dr. Risby, Jackie, you want to start? I guess from anyone, from a nutritional or sports medicine, cardiac standpoint, heart.
Can you just repeat the question? I'm sorry, I got paged by the hospital, so I was a little distracted.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
I was just wondering if you could talk about the impact of emotional health and in particular stress that men tend to live with every day and how that impacts physical health.
Oh, yeah, totally. There's always that life-work balance that we were talking about. And there's a thing specifically in the medical field called physician burnout, where you just feel like you're just going through the motions, and sometimes the patient is more work than you want to get in. So people start losing care and compassion. So it's all that life-work balance. And from a personal standpoint for me, I get up in the morning and I'm trying to get to the Y every day and swim. I just find that physical fitness, getting my heart rate up, it's like an hour of a void where I'm not thinking about anything. And, that endurance, you get these endorphins that get released, which kind of make you feel better. People talk about those runner's high. So there's that component. So for me, coping, that is an important thing. And staying busy. I've got 4 kids and they're doing sports everywhere. So I enjoy watching them succeed and do good too. So it's just not a matter of just like you said, going to work and going home and just doing it again. I think you have to have a life work balance. With social, with friends, activities, personal fitness, all that it helps me for sure.
Yeah, these guys nailed it. I just think a lot of my patients, a lot of these, a lot of you out there are working 60, 70 hours a week because, you feel the pressure to, make this income and put bread on the table for your families. And sometimes it's just too much. A lot of it's voluntary, guys are, saying like, I really want to work this weekend, because I'm getting extra money, I'm getting, overtime pay, and it's affecting them, and they get, 4 hours off during the week of work, including the weekend. It's just, I think a lot of it is just a little too much. And, sometimes us guys have a hard time stopping working, just because we have egos, and then also we have to pay the bills, and it, it can be exhausting on your body and your, on yourself. So like Steve and Ron and Dr. Thompson were talking about, you got to unplug, you just got to take some time for yourself. Just start slow, go for a walk, go for, leave your phone at home, let anybody know, everybody know that you're going for a walk. If they try to get hold of you, just leave your phone at home, go for a 10-minute walk, just see how it goes. That 10-minute walk will likely probably turn to an hour walk, because you just, you're by yourself and you're away from your kids and your work, and it's just good to take care of yourself, physically and mentally. So yeah, just start small. That would be my advice for sure.
Yeah, I agree. One of the things I hear most often here when you talk about changing your lifestyle, changing your diet, making time to cook, making time to get to the grocery, it's time. I don't have time to do that. And then one of the, again, common culprits for people falling back into bad habits is just stress. I had a really stressful month, so I gained weight this month because there was this stressor and that stressor, whether it's work or family, health issues. But stress is a big component to lots of health issues, and weight gain, it just piggybacks on all of those. So it's super common that people, yeah, they put their own health on the back burner because they're making time for all the things, in life, but not making time to take care of themselves. So that's definitely, yeah, common thread. But I would say, yeah, exercise, like I said, just getting out those small changes. It's one of the most underutilized antidepressants out there. Get moving. So, and that can just lead to, doing one thing healthy can lead to other healthy behaviors. It's like changing your diet, just a couple of small changes, we can build on them just one step at a time. You don't have to throw everything, out the window, but just make one small change. Eat breakfast every morning. Try and drink more water through your day. Don't try and focus on, changing everything all at once, but just one thing at a time. And that can help, with anything you're trying to change in your life. Just one small thing can make it feel less overwhelming to try to tackle. And then once you feel like you're getting a handle on that, then we just add something else. So just taking it one step at a time.
That's a great point. I like the antidepressant. That's great. Good point. Good point. Anyone else? Joan, how are we doing on time? Will you have another poll?
We've got about 5 minutes left.
Okay.
And I think that we can probably have a little bit of conversation still.
Okay.
I'm curious about vitamin supplements and whether vitamin supplements, we can hear from Jackie and anybody else who might have a thought about that. Is that a good way to substitute for a nutritious diet?
We kind of think of supplements as a lot of people think of them like as a safety net. So if I don't eat healthy, I'll just take a supplement. Certainly if you're deficient in something, you need to supplement. If you have a B12 deficiency, if you have an iron deficiency, you need to supplement. Most adults probably don't need more than a standard multivitamin. They don't need to be taking, a lengthy list of anything unless you've been told so, or like I said, you have a confirmed deficiency in anything. But our body also doesn't process vitamins that we're getting out of a little pill the same way it does those vitamins, minerals, phytochemicals, things that we're getting from actual food. They tend to be more bioavailable. So when you're actually eating real food, our body can absorb that stuff better than taking it from a pill. So you hear some of the, the greens powders and different things like that. Well, I don't eat any vegetables, but I take this greens powder and it's the same thing, right? It's like, no, not really. So we should all strive to, eat a wide variety of foods, especially healthy foods in our diet. The wider the variety of foods that you're eating, the wider variety of nutrients. So you're more likely to be getting the full complement of vitamins and minerals if you're eating, a decent variety of fruits and vegetables and proteins and grains throughout your day. So like I said, it's not a bad idea to take a vitamin, and certainly certain sections of the population based on your health probably need them more than others. Generally healthy people, most of them don't need actually a vitamin mineral supplement. People who have health conditions, if you're, children, teenagers that are growing rapidly, maybe not eating a wide variety of foods, that's another segment of the population that might want to think about a one-a-day type vitamin. If you've ever had, any kind of, GI issues, that you're not absorbing things, again, speaking with your physician and getting some basic lab work done so that you can see if you're deficient is never a bad idea either.
That's awesome. We are getting close to the end of our hour. So I'm wondering if we could pull up final poll question and let folks take a look at that and then go back to our slides. We're hoping that folks have learned something here today and will follow up with whether it's a medical or an emotional kind of action to take better care of themselves. So I just wanted to be sure that everybody here has the contact information for our wonderful panelists. As you may know, this conversation has been recorded directly to YouTube, and so it will not take more than a few minutes probably for that to be available on our website as well. So if you know somebody who you would like to share this with, even if they couldn't join us today, go ahead and send them to the Community Health Foundation website. And there's a tab there that says events, and you'll find our Break for Health events. All of them are available at that site. So thanks everybody for taking the time to join us today. There we have a slide that shows you where you can find our website. I'll also plug our health resource guide. We have our newest edition is now available. So anybody on the call, any of you panelists or anybody in the audience who would like one or more health resource guides, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. You will receive a survey after this session today. All of our audience folks encourage you to please take that survey and let us know what we can do in the future to make these sessions continue to be helpful and interesting to you. So thanks, everybody. We will let you get on with your day. Appreciate you so much for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you again next time. Have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.